Hey Anna.
Hey, Kate.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too. We did it.
Yeah, we did it. I wasn't sure then if it was going to work, but hey, we're both here.
Yeah, we made it. This
Yeah.
is historic. And hello everybody who's joining. Happy Wednesday. So shall we get started? I know we're a couple minutes after the hour.
Yeah,
Um,
go for it.
Maybe I'll just start with a quick welcome. Welcome, everybody. We're so happy to have you here with us today as we talk about the present and the future of digital spaces in the performing arts and working within them. My name is Anna Gallagher Ross, and I'm Associate Artistic Director at Fusebox Festival in Austin, Texas. And I'm so pleased to be here with my colleague, Kate Craddock, who is the director of the Gateshead International Festival of Theatre in Northeast England. So, Kate, welcome.
Thank you, Anna, and welcome to you. It's so nice to see you and like to be connected. So we're both myself and Anna are part of a program that's supported by British Council and Arts Council England called the Generate program, and we met as two of the participants. There's 12 of us altogether, six from the UK and six from the States, who were all sort of involved in festivals or curating in some way or another, or producing performing arts work around where we're based. And we're spread across both America and the UK. We're spread quite widely, I suppose, in terms of where we're all based. So as Anna mentioned, I'm based in the northeast of England. So for anyone who's watching in the States, that's where I am. I'm kind of closer to Scotland than I am to London, say. And Anna is in Texas, in Austin.
Yeah, all the way down in Texas. Yeah, and maybe we can start. I mean, Kate and I met during this program, as Kate said. It's been such a privilege to sort of have these touch points with her and our other colleagues as we've kind of learned and networked together. And I think we're really excited today to just share our perspectives on what it meant to go virtual for both of our organizations this past year. And Kate, just in addition to saying a little bit about what your festival is, I wonder if you could say briefly what it was to go virtual this year for you.
Yeah, so in the same way as Fusebox went virtual, we we made the decision in a very kind of rapid way, really in a very responsive way, to keep Gift alive this year. And the only way, really and realistically, for us to make that happen was to turn it into an online festival. And what was kind of really wonderful in terms of the synergy between myself and Anna was that we were both making these decisions independently, no, without actually realizing that we were making the same decisions. And then as soon as we did, then it was a real opportunity for kind of shared learning. Um, yeah, so for me, it felt really important that Gift maintained a sense of building a festival community. So Gift is like a contemporary performance festival. I'm really interested in encouraging artists to kind of experiment, and that very much framed the whole ethos of Gift this year. Like it was another layer of how we might experiment. So that kind of became the whole framework, I suppose, for Gift this year. That it was one big joyful, beautiful experiment, and we were joined by a community of audience and artists from around the world who engaged with the festival. And what about you, Anna? What does it mean for you?
Yeah, it is remarkable that we were planning these festivals in tandem, and then when we made our announcements, we went, "Oh, hey,
Oh,
you too." Yeah, similarly, we're a nonprofit arts organization based here in Austin, and I think we're best known for our annual festival, which is a performing arts festival that features one third local work here in Austin, one third national, and one third international. Typically, in a regular year, our festival takes place at about 20 discrete sites across venues or across Austin that range from parking garages to theater spaces to the banks of the river. But yes, similar to you, Kate, we had about 4 weeks actually to completely pivot in March to when we realized quite quickly that the festival wasn't going to be possible to take place in its original format. We basically did kind of a 360 and said, what if we took this online? I think at the time we were sort of, early on in the festivals that were going virtual. And I think for us, it was really about that DIY spirit. It was kind of trying to really be caring and aware of what people were going through at the, beginning of this pandemic, and in so many ways still are. And so really to approach our artists and just say, hey, what is meaningful to you right now? And how can we honor the conversations we've been having with you for these past couple years? And, in the end, we ended up framing it as a public access television broadcast because it captured that, DIY spirit and just that plurality of voices of artists coming in together from all over the world and kind of making something.
Wow, that's a brilliant description, and that's exactly what it was to experience as well from here. And there was so much learning kind of going on. So Fusebox happened the weekend before Gift, and so there was a real sense of me actually being able to kind of watch you guys and watch what you were doing in that moment, and then make some last minute decisions and changes into how we were making, how we were going to deliver. And then what's been so fascinating is because, as you said, we were both quite early in terms of that kind of move online. That it's been really interesting because in that moment we both felt that lots of other festivals around the world were very much kind of watching us and seeing what we were doing, the decisions we were making, and then subsequent to that, I've been really observing how other festivals are sort of moving online and how those programs are playing out. And yeah, and it's like a medium that just keeps developing and keeps expanding in terms of what's possible.
Totally.
But I really think for both of us there was a real kind of commitment to obviously the integrity of the artists, obviously, in that being upheld and maintained. I've got a cup of tea as well. Very nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and that commitment sort of really underpinning what we were both trying to achieve. So ensuring that the work was really well protected and the artists were well looked after, and it being an antidote really to a lot of the other work that we've seen kind of going online, I suppose, where we've seen a lot of work just being streamed without a kind of framework around it, which felt really important for both of our festivals.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of my learning and what, so one of the things we want to do today is not just kind of go over the nitty gritty of what we did in terms of how we went online and why we went online, because I think we both made decisions in quite responsive ways and quite quick decisions. But I think that, there's been so much learning from that. And for me, I think one of the key things has been this opportunity to sort of really develop, and the potential for developing a really international audience for Gift. So Gift has always been quite a small festival in lots of ways, and where we are in the UK, we're not sort of necessarily a festival that people would always kind of necessarily travel to, like as a destination festival in that way. But what going online really allowed us to do was kind of really to reach an international audience for the artists who we were programming. And I think in terms of the future iteration of Gift, that's a very, very exciting prospect. And so I'm really starting to think now about Gift in the future and how that work might develop, and how we might, stream some of the events, etc. And it's kind of interesting because in 2019 we did an event on Zoom as part of Gift that your colleague Ron from Fusebox took part in, and that took place, on Zoom at the Baltic Centre for Contemporary Art in Gateshead. And it brought together, various speakers from around the world from different festivals. And there was a real desire in that moment where people were saying, oh, can we do more things online next year to connect with more people? And of course, we never anticipated at that point in that conversation in 2019 that 2020 everything would go online. But I think we've kind of been steadily trying to use the online space as a space to ensure we can broaden the network of who we're reaching and who we're connecting through the festival space. I don't know about you, Anna. I know what's been one of the biggest kind of takeaways from you.
Oh, absolutely. It's huge, the audience we were able to reach. So I think this pandemic and, the move to virtual programming in all sectors has really, underlined the fact that we need to always be accessible. And so I think accessibility has been such a key part for us is, opening up our festival to people in new ways, not only in our city, but also around the world. And similar to you, Kate, I remember being an audience member at your festival and having such an incredible time in a participatory performance, with people all over the world, people from Gateshead, but also people, from Berlin and from different countries. It was incredible. And I think for us, it was really wonderful to welcome new people into the fold. We were programming across a variety of platforms, and that meant that we got in front of people who might not normally go to see a contemporary experimental performance festival. So for us, it was about welcoming those people in. And I think, what was beautiful about it is we were able to go on location with artists for the first time. We were able to sort of give a window to our audiences into artist studios. You know, we had artists broadcasting from Sydney, Australia, and from Tokyo, Japan, and who were showing us how they work and the materials they work with. So for me, those kind of intimate moments, you know, we had cooking shows where artists would make a meal, and I think those kinds of moments enabled conversations that might not be able to take place otherwise. And so that was a really beautiful way in which accessibility kind of came into the fold in a new way. So I think we learned a lot in that regard.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, I learned a lot from those kind of studio visits that you did, and it's made me really excited about what might be possible for GIFT next year. So sort of how can I build on some of those ideas that you really trialed you know, at Fusebox, and I'm hoping that there's going to be opportunity to present some work next year that might be created by local, you know, artists who are based in Newcastle, Gateshead, but for that work to be, you know, to be streamed to an international audience, as I was saying, but also maybe it's about a studio visit to a kind of a studio space on Gateshead High Street, which is where GIFT began, you know, so sort of just really making those connections and allowing us to have that kind of digital intimacy,
Yeah.
Which is something we both really strive for, I think, through what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you see, I mean, how do you see the future of touring? You know, I mean, Gateshead, GIFT is such an incredible festival for really bolstering and developing the work of local artists and sort of seeding that. And I'm just curious to hear from you, like, do you see something interesting happening in the future of touring, given this digital space that's opened up?
Oh, yeah. So I mean, I'm already like planning events for next year. We don't have, you know, funding in place or anything like that yet because everything's still so up in the air. But I am kickstarting some projects and some ideas, working with some other international artists. So I'm about to launch a project with some Canadian artists in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be a kind of 3-year project. And that's me working in collaboration with 2 other festivals, one in Germany and one in Norway. And actually, it gives us an opportunity to work with international artists from Canada, who are then going to be working with artists in Newcastle, Gateshead, and members of community who will also be participants in the project and get really involved. And that's going to be like over a 3-year period. So it's going to feel very kind of embedded, which is something that I think I've really taken away from the pandemic, is this kind of desire to be working in much more embedded ways over longer periods of time. And it's something that I think came up very, very early on in one of our other conversations, but it feels like that's now playing out. And so the future of that work, and the idea is that performers or participants will, we don't know because it's going to manifest in different ways in the 3 festivals. It's still very early days. But one of the key ideas for that is that the participants and performers in that work will tour to each of those 3 festivals. So working in a much more kind of networked and targeted way, I suppose, and it's a much more interconnected. And that's something that I really hope that we can continue, like especially because our festivals happen in, you know, at such a similar time of year, and I'm really excited about how we might work together in a closer way, you know, next year too.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think that we both have this real commitment to kind of the international, but also the local, which is very exciting. And we both work in kind of unusual spaces and different sites and locations. And so again, it's like, what does that bring to the digital as well? You know, like this kind of excavation of space and of site, which is something that's always premised what we both do, and our engagement with the town centres that we occupy.
Totally. I mean, I hear what you're saying so much about just our relationship to time shifting so much during this pandemic in general, you know, in terms of us having to really slow down in so many ways. But also I found with the digital format, you know, our relationship to time changed. I love the way you're talking about residency being this deep, intentional sort of time taking in place to really get to know communities and to give artists more time to develop work. I think that's been such a crucial part of this, is realizing, you know, how much we push work to be completed so quickly, and artists do not have adequate support structures for that in place. And so for us, that's really important. And we're trying to think, you know, frankly, right now, we're trying to think about how to get money and time in the hands of artists and space where it's available and is possible to gather at this moment. But I really appreciate that. And I definitely, throughout this process, I mean, it was such a learning for me, realizing just the medium we were working with, you know, us being new to this medium and its specificity that came with it. You know, there's been such a healthy community of virtual performing artists that have been existing for a long time, I think prior to our explorations, or at least ours personally. And so I think for us during our festival, it was connecting with, you know, artists like Angela Washko, who have been making this work for such a long period. And we're able to, you know, really highlight that we're coming from a place of not knowing in this virtual realm. I think so many of our performing artists are, as well as our organizations. And I kind of wanted us to just embrace that not knowing, that experimentation. And I really appreciate that, you know, our artists are having to use new tools, and so are we. But I think in the future, you know, I think we want to keep doing this. I think there's something really exciting, as you're saying, about the possibilities of this space. And I actually like to call it a venue. I feel like the virtual is this other venue that Fusebox is just going to be activating, you know, creating kind of an augmented festival attending experience where, you know, maybe when you're waiting in line to see a show, you're also tuning into this amazing digital commission on your phone. Just so that the two can kind of enhance each other as opposed to feeling like they're replacing. Because definitely, don't you miss the live experience?
Oh God, yeah, so badly, so badly. But you know, but again, like just hearing you there, like none of the artists who presented work at GIFT had worked in this way before. But you know, a number of them created works that have now already been programmed at other international festivals in their online form. And I love the idea that actually those artists now have the ability to kind of offer two versions to festivals around the world, like in terms of, you know, the environment and the kind of carbon footprint of those artists, just being able to say, well, you can have the digital version or I can fly to wherever, but I'm happy to present both, and that both works stand up, you know, and that just being a really exciting kind of exciting thing to have emerged from this in a sort of unexpected way. So Anna, I think our time's already coming to an end, you know, it's been so quick. I know, which is
happens.
I know, because we could talk about this for hours, as we have done, and maybe we should find another moment to kind of touch base on this in a public space again. But shall I just wrap up, if that's okay?
Please.
So just to say thank you to everyone who's joined us today for our conversation. Please continue to kind of add your comments or share your thoughts. We're using the hashtag generating conversations, so if you wanted to kind of post about that, and this is going to be uploaded across other social media platforms as a kind of video and documented and archived in that way. So do help us spread it and share the news about the Generate programme that, as we mentioned at the beginning, is supported by British Council USA and Arts Council England. So thank you, Anna. It's been wonderful to see you.
Yes, so wonderful to see you, Kate. Yeah, you've made my day, and I love having tea with you all the time.
Yeah. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Bye.